first date horror stories.
I went on a date. This guy asked me out on a date maybe 20 times. Finally, I was like, sure. We literally get probably one of every appetizer, and then like we each get an entree, maybe a third entree just to like try it out. And then he's like, it's time for dessert. Let's like pick. I'm like, honestly, I am so stuffed. I've never been more full. Like, I am good.
Yeah.
He's like, no. Let's get the dessert.
It's like, eat it.
I'm like, okay. And then he gets a fucking phone call. He does not come back 20 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know what the phone call's about. So I get up and I go outside. Quite literally gone. I have not seen or heard from that man since. He's blocked me on every social media. The bill was literally probably $1,600.
So, did you pay it?
Yes, I had to pay it.
What's his name?
His name is Justin.
What's his last name?
Nick's already pulling out his phone.
There was another story that went round about a girl that got with a guy in a bar.
Okay.
And a couple of days later, she discovers this sore/growth in her mouth.
Growth. In the mouth.
Growth.
Something growing.
Something growing in her mouth.
Just trying to get the image in my head.
Just a visual.
Yeah, just visualize it. Yeah.
So she goes to her friends and they're like, oh, maybe it can be an STD. You should go to the doctor.
Okay.
So she goes to the doctor and the doctor says that the diagnosis was a sore generated by eating decaying flesh. So in summary, she has kissed someone that is a potential necrophiliac and has caught the germs from a corpse.
And now that corpse is growing in your mouth.
The possible worst sloppy seconds we could imagine.
Disgusting. What do you do?
What do you do? What do you actually do?
Not even mouthwash. I'll tell doctor, please take my mouth off. I don't want my mouth. I don't want my mouth no more. Take it off.
Welcome to our Halloween SOS.
Literally, I don't want it. That's scary.
Innit?
Where did you find the guy?
I don't know. I'd never want to see him again.
No.
That's dark. That's horrible.
So let me tell you another dating horror story, because I have way too many not to share. You know, this story happened like 2 or 3 years ago, so I can't exactly remember everything, but there's a few things that you just don't forget. So I matched with this guy on Bumble, and we just have a vibe. So we start like video chatting every night, and he's like showing me his dog, and like we talk all day, and he's sending me pictures of his dog and like just telling me about his life, and we just like have a really nice vibe. And we clearly are like very into each other. After a week or so of talking, we decide to go on a date, and I'm like all happy because I'm into this guy, and I'm thinking like this may be the one, like I always do, by the way. So it gets to the morning of the date, and I haven't heard anything from him yet. It gets to the time of the date, and he still hasn't said anything, even though I sent him a message earlier asking if like we're still up for meeting. And at this point, I'm like really confused at what's happening, because he looked like he was really interested. So after a few hours, he sends me a message and says that his dog ate chocolate and he had to go to the vet. And I'm just like, I'm not believing that story. A part of me was like, that is not true. But I just thought, do you know what? That's fine. I'll keep talking to him. So we keep chatting for another week, and then we decide to go on another date and try to actually have a date this time. When it gets to the first date and he actually shows up, I feel like we had a good connection, and there was like good conversation going on, and I found him attractive. So I thought, well, there's definitely going to be a second date. So we video chat for like maybe a week or two before he asked me on a second date. So we had like normal conversations. Everything was good. There was no reasons for anything for him to just like, you know, stop talking to me. Apart from the fact that I wore glasses on the last video chat that we had, and I am very much blind, so I need to have contacts or glasses to be able to see. And I don't know, his reaction was kind of weird when I put my glasses on that video chat. And after that, it was like the day after it was our date. So I don't know if it is related, but I'm just saying that is what happened. To be fair, that can come from my insecurities, but I don't know. So it gets to the day of the second date, and this guy says nothing to me again. He ghosts me again, and this time he doesn't even reply to my messages. He just doesn't talk to me ever again till 2 or 3 months ago, where he sends me a message after 3 or 4 years. Like, are you insane? What is happening with people? God.
So I will never be using Hinge again. Hinge, if you're watching this, it's not because of you, but it is because of the men that you allow on your site. So basically what had happened was I got invited on a date, and I was like, sure, why not? Move to a new city and I want to experience new things. Worst decision of my life. We'll call him Greg. Greg was like, okay, come to my house before and then we can meet up at my house and then I'll drive us. And I was like, all right, bet. Because your girl is broke. I'm not trying to waste my gas. Anyways, I pull up, and when I get there, he's like, let's take my dog on a walk first because he needs to be on a walk. So I get there and we take his dog on a walk. We're walking, like strolling. Get back to his house, and there's a car waiting in the driveway. A girl. It's a girl. She rolls down the window, starts screaming at me, not even at him, at me, and it's like, who the fuck are you, bitch? Like, I'm his motherfucking girlfriend. Like, who the fuck do you think you are, bitch? I'm like, what is going on? I do not know who you are. Then she starts swinging at me. I'm like, girl, I cannot fight. Like, I'm telling you right now, you will beat me up. Like, you will win. Don't fight me. She doesn't care at this point, and she is taking it all out on me and not on him. So then I start running back to my car because I'm like, what is going on? Like, this girl is literally with all of her friends, like, literally, like, they're, like, fighting me.
So I guess Tinder horror stories are all the rave right now, and I think this one's going to be tough to beat. Okay, so I was talking to this girl for a couple days. We decided to get together, go out and get an appetizer. So I meet her, she looks like her photo's perfect. We sit down, and without me getting a word in, this girl starts going off telling me about how most of her family members are in mental institutions with schizophrenia. Then she tells me this morbid story about watching her best friend die because he was driving drunk. Then she tells me that if she was to ever get pregnant, that she would keep it if it's a boy, but she wouldn't keep it if it's a girl, because she doesn't want to raise a girl in this society. So at this point, I excuse myself to the washroom, and I'm standing there looking at myself in the mirror, like, bro, like, you should just leave. Just walk out the door, it's fine. But I was like, no, I invited her out. I'm going to see this through. I'll, like, pay the bill. So I go sit back down, and the food comes, and I've had, like, 2 or 3 bites, and she goes, do you know what eczema is? And I'm like, yeah, that's like that rash that people get. She's like, yeah, so I have that on my feet. And I'm like, oh, like, sorry, like, whatever, like, it's not a big deal, people get it. And she's like, want to see? I'm like, no, not really, like, I'm eating right now. And she pulls out her phone and she starts showing me photos of the most disgusting, rotten feet I have ever seen. Oh, I'm still so traumatized. Anyway, I'm like, please stop, like, I don't want to see this right now. And she just, like, keeps putting the phone in my face and me like, no, look. And at this point, I'm like, this is a prank. Like, somebody has hired her. Maybe she knows one of my exes or something like that. Like, there's no way. But she just wouldn't stop. So anyway, I'd like, get the bill, pay it, and I'm like, it's time to go. So I'm waiting with her for her Uber to come at this point. And now she's, like, trying to come home with me. And I'm like, no, like, this did not go well. Like, it's time for you to leave.
Here's why you should always look up the guy you're going on a date with before you go on the date. One time I was out with my friends and I see this guy, really cute, looking at me. He ends up coming up to me and he asks me to go to dinner. Go to this great dinner. He's asking me a ton of, like, get to know you questions. He asked me what my job is. I'm a photographer. It's like, oh wow, that's so cool. Just to see my work, etc. As the dinner went on, he started to ask me more questions where I felt like he already knew the answer to. So I'm like, maybe he just looked me up on Instagram before or whatever. I go home and I'm FaceTiming with my best friend and I'm telling her about the date and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look him up now. So I find his Instagram and as soon as I see the username, my stomach sinks. I'm like, I've seen this username before. I click on the messages. He has messaged me like 45 times in the past 5 years, responding to stories about my photography, my friends, everything he asked me questions about like he didn't know the answer to. I don't know why he couldn't just tell me that he was following me before, but I got super creeped out.
Story time of when I ignored every red flag and still went on the date. Because I was traveling and wanted someone local to explore with, I agreed to go on a last minute date. That was red flag number 1. He offered to take me out for burgers and drinks. I said yes, and when I gave him my address, I was 15 minutes away. He asked me for gas money. That was red flag number 2. I laughed it off, did not send him money, and he still decided to come. He didn't open the car door for me or wait outside the car, but I wasn't even surprised. On our way, he parked in like a random alleyway and told me that him and his friends were wondering if were real. I told him it was a rude question to ask, and he verbatim went, no, I don't think so. That's number 3. We got to the bar, he got me a drink, we had decent conversation, whatever. Our drinks are empty, I'm getting really hungry, and he starts insinuating I buy him a drink, which absolutely not, this is the date. After 10 minutes, I suggested he can get a second round of drinks if he wants more, because at this point, we're just like sitting drinks empty at a bar, which is kind of strange. And he just makes this weird, prolonged noise, hoping that like, I forget I ever said anything. That was some kind of red flag number 4. With my drink empty, he starts showing me a hot dog eating competition he won 6 years ago. Like, we're both sober for this. I forgot to mention he also played Pokemon Go, which I didn't mind, it was kind of fun, but a strange time to play it. Anyways, I asked if we get burgers and he said McDonald's was right across the street. Red flag number 5. I was so hungry, I said yes. McDonald's was closed. So rather than going elsewhere, he decided to take me to the City Viewpoint, which I can only assume is his version of being romantic and trying to get me alone. He puts on One Direction karaoke and starts singing, no, serenading me. Bro, I just wanted to go home, and I was trying to navigate the situation to keep myself safe and not piss him off. When we get home, I'm in the passenger seat facing forward like this, and he's like this in the driver's seat. Like if I move my face, we're kissing. I'm ignoring his body language, and I even told him before that I don't generally kiss on a first date. He asked to kiss me, and I think of the only thing I can say to get out of it. I asked him my name. He couldn't say it, and I took that as my cue to leave. So naturally, he starts yelling in front of the whole neighborhood, purely because I wouldn't kiss him. Lastly, this man was a stand-up comedian, which is red flag number 7, so I guess we're both sharing the story.
So this guy asked me on a date, and when I tell you he was hot, like, I mean he was hot. Tall, blue eyes, brown hair, literally exactly my type. So of course I said yes. I mean, I was excited. So anyways, he was like, let's go see a movie. And I know what you're thinking, because I was thinking the same thing. Like a movie on the first date, like how we're supposed to get to know each other. Plus that's kind of sketch, because we all know why boys want to go see movies with girls. But me being stupid, I was like, okay, sounds great. Plus, I mean, this guy was so cute and he seemed like he was just my type. So I was honestly willing to do anything at this point. Fast forward, it's the day of the date and I text him and I'm like, hey, are you picking me up or are we meeting there? Honestly, kind of hoping that he would pick me up because I mean, like, that's what, you know, guys should do. And he responded and was like, no, like, you can just meet me there. So I got my car and I drove half an hour to the movie theater that he wanted to go to because it was closer to his house. And again, me being stupid. So I drive to the movie theater and I get there at 11:15 a.m., which was so weird. Like, we saw it in the morning. So I got there at 11:15 a.m., which is right when we said we were going to meet each other. So I'm just kind of sitting in my car in the parking lot, like, waiting for him to show up because I didn't know what kind of car he drove. About 15 minutes pass and there's still like no sign of this kid. So I text him, call him, no response. At this point, the movie is about to start and I'm still just waiting in this parking lot all by myself. I definitely should have just left, but like I said, this guy was really hot and I wasn't about to miss out. Finally, I get a text and it says I'm running late, be there in 5 minutes. 15 minutes later, he finally shows up and the movie has already started. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, he looked like crap. Like, he looked like he literally just rolled out of bed. We go into the movie theater and he has me pay for my own ticket, which was kind of a red flag. And we go into the movie and it's a 3-hour movie about cars. And luckily it was already about 20 minutes into the movie, so I didn't have to sit there for the full 3 hours. And like, I was clearly pissed off at this point, but this boy started to try to make moves on me in the movie theater. I was so not having it. So finally the movie ended and he like tried to hug me goodbye and I just dodged the hug, got in my car and never spoke to him again. But funny thing, he still tries to hit me up to this day.
Last night I had such a bad date. I'm like kind of scared for my life because this guy's kind of psycho. So I met this guy on Hinge. It always starts with Hinge. He picked this like sushi restaurant. He wanted to go get sushi. I mean, he asked me what type of food I like. I told him I'm pretty much open-minded, just pick anything. And so like everything was fine, but he would kind of give me like subtle flags that he had like a small temper. Like he would get like mad over like little things, like, you know, just waiting 5 seconds for the valet person to get the car. But I'm a nice person. I'm a nice girl. I like to see the best in people, so I kind of like ignore those stuff. Big fucking mistake. So at the beginning of the day, he proceeds to say that he has never done anything like this for a woman. He said that he had to drive all the way from Beverly Hills to downtown and he's never done that. And he's never taken out a woman on a date. So I'm like, what type of women have you been dating then? Like, so when we finished our food, he asked me what I wanted to do after. And I was like, oh, we know whatever you want. We can go to like a bar, we can go to a club, whatever. So guess what he suggested? He said, since you have a luxury apartment, why don't we go back to your place? And I told him, absolutely not. I don't know you. I don't take people back to my place. Sorry. Respectfully. I said that very respectfully. And he got mad. He kept asking me why. Why can't I go to your place? Why can't I, there's no reason. Like, why is the reason is stupid. Kept saying because I didn't have a valid reason as to why I didn't want to let him into my apartment, that I had to let him in my apartment. At that point, I excused myself to go to the restroom. I was going to leave the date. But, you know, me as a nice person, I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't know. I'm very nice. I should have fucking left because when I came back, he asked me to split the bill, which threw me off because you suggested to go out with me. You took me on a date. Now you're asking me to pay half because I didn't let you go into my apartment because you didn't get lucky. I grabbed the check. I told the waiter, he's weird. I'm leaving. Charge his card. I'm gone. This man proceeded to chase me down and hold me back and started calling me Mexican trash and broke Mexican. I don't know. He started calling me all these racial slurs. I literally left on a scooter and he started texting me all this crazy shit. I blocked him. He started calling me on unknown numbers. He starts like spamming my Instagram with comments and just disrespectful shit. Literally had to email Hinge and show Hinge all the email threads, everything. I screenshot everything. Like, I am worried I have a stalker now and could kill me because he knows where I live. Men worry about getting finessed on a date out of a meal, but women worry about literally getting killed.
Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'm going to tell you about one of my Tinder horror stories. So anyway, I was 18 and I had just kind of gotten on Tinder and I was talking to this guy. It took her a while and he was like, do you want to go out for drinks? And I was like, sure, sounds good. Go to this drink place. I get there first. He says he's approaching me. I look up. The man that is approaching me looks nothing like his pictures, like vaguely, but also not really at all. So he also looked way, way older than what he looked like. And I was like, oh, red flag. Anyway, get to the date and it was horrible. We were talking and it was so awkward. We had almost nothing in common. The conversation wasn't flowing. It was noticeably awkward for both of us. And I was 18. I didn't know any better. I should have just gotten up and said, hey, I'm going to go now. But I was kind of just dropping vague hints like, okay, well, it's getting late. I should go. And he'd be like, no, let me like buy you another drink. So I stayed. Anyway, gets towards the end of the night, I go to leave and he was like, oh, do you want to go for a walk on like the boardwalk? Like, because we were on a beach. And I should have said no, but I did. And I went for a walk and it was still noticeably awkward at this point. Anyway, we're walking and Mans goes to grab my hand, and anybody who knows me, even at the age of 18, gross. I don't like it. So he goes to do that. I like pulled my hand away and it was like really awkward and I was like, oh, don't do that, please. And we're walking and we get to the end of this like boardwalk area and Mans like turns to me and goes to kiss me and I was like, no. And I dodged it and it was so awkward and I'm pretty sure I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Went to the bathroom, like text my best friend everything that was happening. She was like, you gotta get out of there. Anyway, go back out and I was like, yo, my best friend's dying. I have to go home right now. And he was like, okay, well, let me drive you home. And I should have said no, but I was like, after a bit of arguing, he ended up taking me home, get in his car. I get into his fucking passenger seat and I look at the door and I'm like, brethren, where is your door handle? And he was like, oh, sorry, this car only opens from the outside. And I was like, you could have told me that before I got in your car. Anyway, it drops me off. Get out the car, goes in for another kiss, and I was like, dude, like, don't. Anyway, I go back inside. Mans has the audacity. He texts me when I get inside. He was like, hey, Taylor, look, it was really fun hanging out with you, but I think this isn't going to work out between us. I think you're a fun girl, but I think, you know, I don't think you're right for me. So we're just going to leave it there. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. If that's the call that you want to make, sure thing, broski. And then I went inside and now I know how to leave dates that I don't want to be on anymore.
I want to tell you about one of the worst dates I ever went on. I see so many people doing these videos and I thought it was about time I told you guys about my dating horror stories. This was when I was like 19 and I was actually living in the Philippines. Shout out to the Philippines. I love the Philippines. I lived there for a long time. I was a 19-year-old girl. I was young and innocent and I was on Tinder and I matched with this guy and he looked really cute. He was British, so I was like, absolutely yes, give me some of that. He looked pretty cute in photos. The photos were kind of filtered though, which is such an ick now that I think about it. And also he didn't really have any photos like standing up and he mostly like showed off his tattoos. Like all of his photos were of his tattoos, which should have been red flag number 1. He had like a tattoo sleeve that he was clearly obsessed with, but I didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was hot, so I was like, okay, that's fine. We matched and we agreed to meet at a restaurant. So I was always late. Always. I'm still late to everything, but I was always like hella late. So I showed up a little bit late. He was already at the restaurant and when I get there he looks like the photo, so I'm like, okay, I didn't get catfished, he looks fine. Little did I know. So I just got to the restaurant and I'm standing there and he didn't get up to greet me, which I thought was a little bit weird. I was like, okay, right off the bat, like he's not the biggest gentleman. That's kind of a turn off. But yeah, he didn't get up to say hi to me or anything. He was just like, oh hey, whatever. He was like nice but didn't get up and I was like, that's rude. We order some food, we sit there, we chat. Right off the bat, honestly, he was not my vibe. He was just like he just talked about his tattoos the whole time. Like, my man, I can see you have tattoos. That's enough. Like, that's all he wanted to talk about like the whole time. And it was the classic like a big ass lion and a clock and a rose and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. So the whole time he talked about his tattoos. He wasn't a gentleman. I don't know, I wasn't really liking him that much. We weren't really vibing. His personality wasn't the best. Like, his personality was just his sleeve tattoo. That was all he had to offer, really. But I still try to like talk to him and be friendly and it was fine. But I noticed that he hadn't gotten up for like, not even for the bathroom, for nothing, for 2 hours. And so finally we get the bill and everything and I'm like, okay, I'm probably not gonna see this guy again because I'm not really vibing with him. Get the bill, we get our things and we are leaving and I get up and then I see that he gets up and I'm just like,
I went on a horrible date tonight, but the worst thing about it happened afterwards. So I'm on the date, the guy's kind of odd, we're just not clicking. He keeps just like talking over me very loud. Every time I would say something about like what I do for work, he would like explain to me why the things that I do are hard and that it must be so hard for me to run a business as a woman like myself. He's like, that must be so hard for you, like running your own, like running a business all by yourself. Like, you must be exhausted. And I'm like, I'm okay, I'm not the one complaining here. It was just very odd. So he just like, I would say like, oh yeah, I have to manage my own website, social media, and he'd be like, well, that's so hard because like, you have to get the social media to get it to your website. And I was like, I know. Anyway, besides the point, that's why the date was bad. So about 2/3 of the way through the date, he goes to the bathroom, and while he was in the bathroom, we were at a place that I like knew the servers. So our server stopped by and said like, oh, how's it going? And I was like, honestly, like, not great. I don't know. And then she was like, oh, do you want me to bring the check? And I was like, yeah, when you get a chance, that'd be great. Then she walks away. Short little conversation of how's it going? I say not great. She asks for the check. I say sure. He comes back. She brings the check. She says together or separate. I say separate. He says together, insists on paying. I say okay. We wrap up the date. We leave. And then as soon as I get home, I get a message from him that says, a catfish and late for the date. Wow, Cassie, good luck. Huh? And I said, mind you, I was 2 minutes late for the date. The date was at 7:30. I got there at 7:32 and I texted him like, hey, I'm running a little bit late. So that's a little bit of an overreaction. The catfish part, I said, catfish? Like, you feel like I catfished you? And he said, yeah, catfish, ... As I was walking to my car from the date, a guy that was at a neighboring table pulled up next to me and told me that you were talking smack about me while I was in the bathroom. Huh? One, wasn't talking smack. The waitress asked how it was going. Wasn't going well. Answered honestly. 2, why was that guy listening? And 3, why would he tell him that? Like, that's terrible. Like, why would you tell the guy that? So weird. Anyway, and so I'm like, that's not catfishing, first of all. Like, I don't know what you think that is. And I was like, huh? Anyway, I was like, sorry, I don't think that's what happened, but I'm sorry if you're upset. And he just kept going off on me, and finally we just unmatched. So I was like, this is terrible.